First product that we just launched recently is what we call the Cricut Bright Pad. And for those of you who've done a vinyl project, know that after you have cut your vinyl, it's incredibly hard to read it. It takes like 15, 30, 45 minutes. And while some people find it therapeutic, most people find it a pain. Right? The best way to apologize for not having innovation is just, oh, it's therapeutic, right? And really. So all of a sudden, if you have this super slim light pad underneath it, you can see the cut lines, and all of a sudden you can do it in less than a fourth of the time. Right? It's beautiful. You can also use this Cricut Bright. This is the Cricut Bright Pad. You can also use it for arts and other hobbies. And I'm just going to show it to you for those who haven't seen it. It is the most beautiful thing that you'll lay your eyes on. It's super slim. Tiffany's going to give it to me. It's so thin. It's like a giant iPad screen. It's got multiple levels of dimness. It's just beautiful. Oh, sorry. It's built strong. Want me to do it again? And by the way, the Skeptics is not broken. This thing came off. You want me to prove it to you? Thank you, Tiffany. So Cricut Bright Pad, $79. We launched it a few weeks ago. It's in 4 colors. Most of all our retail friends are going to carry it. It is beautiful. It will help you in so many things you do. First announcement, Cricut Bright Pad. So iron-ons. People, you are all cutting iron-ons, making tons of T-shirts. Everybody wants to make a T-shirt. Onesies, pillows, curtains. What else do you make? Who uses iron-on? Nobody in the room now uses iron-on. We'll take it off the dial. I'm just kidding. What do you make? Tote bags. What else? Shoesies. What else? There you go. Okay. So those of you, so many of you have done an iron-on, and you know that after you've cut the film, you have to apply it using some kind of a heat device onto your fabric, right? And there are 2 kinds of devices that exist today. One is your home iron. It's convenient, it's safe, everybody has one. And then there's this really ugly, industrial-looking heat press that literally actually belongs to a factory or your garage. I mean, it's really bad. Like, it's horrible. And it's not safe, right? You have a 350-degree hot heat plate. You're putting your hands right underneath it. And how many burn marks do you see on the internet? If you don't believe me, go search heat press burns. We are actually coming out with a product that actually is an ointment to fix it. No, okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the other thing. So I'll explain this in a second, okay? Many of you know that the challenge with applying your iron-ons to your fabric is consistent heating. And this is a thermal map of what a typical iron and a heat press look like. And if you look at an iron, and even a good iron, the difference of temperature between the lowest temperature point and the highest temperature point could be as high as 200 degrees. 200 degrees. And these films are incredibly temperature and time sensitive. They all need, and actually really also depends on what kind of what canvas are you applying it to. So when you have a device that has 200-degree variance, that explains why you're constantly guessing, and it's frustrating. And even if you get it to stick, it falls off after you're washing it, right? On the other hand, a heat press, that same range of temperature is between 10 to 30 degrees. Most heat presses are 30 degrees variance, and really, really good heat presses, and you know why I'm talking about really good heat presses, are 10 degrees. Right? And they have, unlike an iron, they have an onboard timer, most of them, and a digital temperature reading. So what we wanted to do, in the spirit of creating solutions around iron-ons, is to combine the speed and consistency of a heat press with the simplicity and convenience of an iron. And we came up with a beautiful product. I don't know how many of you really paid close attention to our window displays. It's beautiful. We're calling it the Cricut Easy Press. Josh, 100 free images for them. I'm just kidding. All right, now we're going to champion it. Okay, let's do it. It's the Cricut Easy Press, and it's really easy. All you do is after you cut the iron-on design, you place it on the fabric, you adjust the temperature and time. It has an onboard timer and a temperature setting. You adjust the temperature, let it heat up, and it doesn't take as much. It's way faster than a typical heat press. You gently lay it on you put the iron-on design on your fabric, you lay the Easy Press on it, start the timer, press go, and in less than 60 seconds, you have a fantastic iron-on project that's going to stick even after 10, 20 washes. Talking about safety, it comes in a stand. It comes with it nests in a stand. We call it the safety base. And as the Easy Press is heating up, it's sitting in there, contained from all sides. You know, you do your designs, you put it right back. You know, you never have your arm underneath it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thoughtful. We've done a lot of research. If you don't believe me, you got to believe this. It's so simple. This is somebody that actually used a heat press. It's so simple. No more guessing on the time and checking to see if the iron-on is sticking. You just set it on the iron and press go. Very cool. Well, this one's my favorite. You know, one of my colleagues, Val, a lot of our employees were testing these products, so they would take it home. And Val took it home, and she was using this, you know, testing it out, and her daughter was actually, Addie, who's 12 years old, was helping. That's not Addie. So, and this is a picture of Addie helping mom, you know, with these projects and testing. And she goes, I really hold it here until it beeps, and that's all. Hey, you get an endorsement of a 12-year-old, it's pretty awesome. And our general counsel is sitting here. Our general counsel, Dawn Olson, is sitting here, and just for full, you know, qualification, we do not recommend this product for kids. Cricut Easy Press, $149, launching in August in retail and other partners. And now for that pearl paper that we talked about. Okay. The dial was amazing. All of a sudden, you all could just turn the dial and cut all kinds of materials that you couldn't cut before. But you wanted more. You always want more, right? 60, 70, 80 materials weren't enough. You wanted hundreds, thousands, right? You could cut a lot more textures, but you wanted more. You know, burlaps and fabrics and balsa woods. You know, you just wanted more. You didn't want just a couple of tools. You wanted a dozen tools. Plus, you wanted more in the future. And most of all, you wanted infinite possibilities. Nothing between me and my imagination. Nothing between me and my creativity. You didn't want to be told what you couldn't do. You wanted to do more materials, more tools, more possibilities. So we looked at our current machine, looked at our current technology, and we had to start over. We didn't have enough force. Explorer was one of the products with the highest forces in the consumer market today, over 300 grams of force. We needed way more than that. We had an X, Y, and a Z axis, so 3 axes of control. These are robotics, right? Effectively, what you have is a robotics machine at work. And we needed to add way more axes of control. We needed to almost, my engineers don't like me saying this, but I'll say it. we wanted to replicate the human hand. So more axes of control, more force, and we just did not. We love Explore. It's an amazing platform. It's going to be here for a long time. But it just didn't have the cutting materials, the cutting blades, the technology, and we wish we could have just extended it, but no, we had to start over. We've been working, super hard these last 3 years. We've spent several tens of millions of dollars, hardware, software, content. We spent over 1 million+ hours in development. Everybody was very impatient. Like everybody's like, what is it going to be? What is it going to be? We waited over 1,000 nights. I think it was like 1,172 nights when we started this thing. And so we waited, and I kept telling people, you can wait one more night. It's okay. And we put our hearts and souls in this product. Lots of personal stories, lots of personal sacrifices. It's a revolutionary new product. And I am super excited that you are going to be the first ones, other than our retail friends, to see it ever. I don't feel enough excitement, so. We're going to innovate in an industry that has not seen any innovation in 3 decades, maybe even more. We're going to take machines that cost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that are big, and Chuck will talk about it, and we're going to bring it to the consumer desktop, the power of mainframes to the personal computer. That's what it is, right? Machines that cost tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars and give you the power as a consumer to make things. Democratize creativity. And it is the most beautiful paper that we've ever created. It seamlessly integrates hardware, software, and content. It's just amazing. And it's the most beautiful product. It's the most beautiful product that we've ever created. Those people that really took my message seriously about the files. You're not getting anything. I'm just kidding. Okay, it's a tool for every maker. It's a tool. It's a tool for every maker. Human beings. Are you done? I have about 7 slides to build up. Do you want to see it? Okay. I'm not even going to say anything. Let's play the video. beautiful, isn't it? You know, we've taken care of every little detail. We agonized, we thought over, we perfected. I'll do a 360 degrees. It's beautiful. And you just open it. Welcome, Cricut Maker. I could do this all day. You know, it's taken a team to do this. I've shown you a small sliver of the capabilities of Cricut Explorer and what it can do for all of you. I'm going to invite my team here for a second. These are some of the most talented people that I've ever worked with in my entire career. They have led many of our teams around the world to make this happen. Chuck Cyber, our head of products and brand. Tom Crisp, our head of design. And Kim Kanarowski, our head of product management.
Hi everyone, I am so excited to tell you more about this Cricut Maker machine. But every time I watch that video, I get so emotional, so I might get choked up. I've watched it so many times, and it's so hard to watch because I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about here. But to start, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my 10-year-old daughter, Kendall. Kendall is a maker. She's always coming up with new ideas and starting a new project. She knits hats and scarves for her stuffed animals. She loves to sew clothes for her dolls, and even makes accessories for our dogs, our poor dogs. She has to dress them up all the time so that they look fancy. She makes purses and wallets with duct tape, necklaces and bracelets using beads and string. And through all of it, as a mom, it makes me so proud. I love to see that she's found this amazing way to express her creativity. I love that she has making stuff for friends and family. And I love that she has so much pride when she finishes a project and it turned out the exact way as she planned, or she learns something new and does it for the first time. Every day, I see makers like you who have that same sense of accomplishment, that same inspiring creativity, and that same passion for making. In my role, I have many responsibilities. But my favorite thing to do is to get out of the office and start talking to consumers. So when we set down this journey in 2014, I was so excited to start the research. I can start talking to you and learning from you and figuring out what we should build and how we can make it amazing. And so we did so much and we learned so much. You went shopping with us in the stores and told us about the tools that you like. You invited us into your homes and shared your spaces and even crafted in front of us. And many of you were excited to come into our office where you could just share your passion for making and give us feedback on our products. And through all of this research, we hear so many stories, so many inspiring stories. The grandmother who wanted to keep her legacy by making quilts for each of her 9 grandchildren. The woman with MS who used crafting as a way to keep her mind and her hands busy when she could barely get out of bed. The mother who turned her favorite hobby into a passion and turned it into a business and started selling online. And the sisters who just love their weekly craft afternoons so they can hang out and have some fun. And while everyone's story is a little bit different, we hear so much consistency in what you have to say and what you love about the craft industry and what you want to make. We hear that you're pressed for time and you wish you had time to craft more and you wish that you could make more. We also hear that you love learning new skills and trying new things and want to try so many new things. And we hear that you love sharing your passion with such an amazing group of makers, where you're just there to support and share one another. And while we do a lot of research, we wanted to make sure that we could make a machine for you that has all the capabilities of the Cricut Explorer and even more. That we could create a machine that can help you make even more in less time. And the best way for us to do that is to see what materials you can cut. This is one of the things that we can do. What can you cut with a machine? Because the more you can cut with your machine, the more you can make with the machine. So not only do we talk to consumers, but we send out a lot of surveys. And you've probably answered some in the past. Some can get it long, but it's because we have a lot to ask you, and there's a lot we want to know. And so when we're filling out the surveys, we've asked before, what materials do you want to cut? And one of the things that comes up on the list constantly is fabric. You want to cut more fabrics. You don't just want to cut fabric applique for your quilts or felt for your kids' crafts. You want to cut a full range of fabrics, everything from the most delicate silk and chiffon to thicker materials like jeans and canvas, because your options today are not ideal. Most of you have to hand cut it. So you have two options. You can use a handheld rotary cutter for images with straight lines, or you can pull out the scissors anytime you have to do a curve or detail. And let's face it, most of you actually don't really enjoy the fabric cutting process. You'd rather spend your time doing what you love, which is sewing and assembling projects and bringing your stuff to life. But you have to cut the fabric, because without the fabric, you can't do your project. And so we wanted to figure out how we can make it easier for you and better for you. And so with the launch of Cricut Maker, we're really excited to announce that you will have a new rotary blade in your machine. Ashish mentioned before it took us a long time to do this. Well, it turns out getting a rotary blade onto this machine is not that easy. We thought you could just stick a blade on and it would work, but engineers told us, no, you have to re-architect the entire thing. You need to build this from the ground up, figure out how you can make the system control the blade. And so after over 3 years of design, development, and testing, we were able to bring this amazing machine to you with this amazing functionality. Now, we have complete level control over this blade. We can control it when it's going left, right, up or down, cutting clockwise or counterclockwise. It knows which direction the blade is facing when it starts a cut, and it tells the blade to pick up and turn when it hits a sharp corner. All of these are critical when you're cutting different fabrics. And so with this new technology, you can cut so many different types of fabrics. Actually, you can cut hundreds of different types of fabrics. So let me put that in perspective for you. In this room, there are 270 different seats. And when you walked in, you may have noticed every seat has a cushion on it. And every cushion has a different fabric. And every one of these fabrics can be cut on a Cricut Maker machine. So stand up, look around, check out the fabrics you see around you. There's chiffon, and there's velvet, felt. But we wanted to do more. We just didn't want to enable you to cut hundreds of fabrics. We wanted to look at your whole experience. We wanted to figure out how we could revolutionize the sewing experience. So let's talk a little bit about the process you have to go through. Anyone made a sewing pattern before? Anyone used one? Well, using a sewing pattern can be difficult at times. It's really time consuming. And if you're new to sewing, it's quite intimidating. So let's think about the process. You get this packet with this huge piece of tissue paper, and you lay it out, and there are all these different pieces on the tissue paper. And you have to figure out which of the pieces go to the project you have, because a lot of the patterns come with multiple projects. So you figure out what pieces you need, then you need to figure out what those pieces are for, then you need to figure out what fabric you need to use for those pieces. And by the time you have this all figured out, it's time to start cutting. So you cut the tissue paper. Then you need to take that tissue paper and pin it to your fabrics. I have yet to meet anyone that likes the pinning process. So you can tell me if you enjoy it, but I haven't met you yet. Don't like the pinning process, but you got to do it. It's part of the process. And then once everything's pinned, you then pick up the scissors again and you start cutting each of the fabrics to make sure they're as accurate as possible. But because you're doing this by hand, it's so hard to make each of these cuts precise. We often talk about in the office how long it takes you to go through this process so you can even get to the sewing. So I decided to test it myself. I wanted to see how quickly I could cut a sewing pattern for a 12-inch doll. I was racing the clock, so I wasn't taking any time to think about things. I just went for it. It took me 1 hour and 17 minutes to be able to cut all the pieces of this pattern. And that hour and 17 minutes, I would rather spend doing something else. So I'm going to bring this back again to my daughter, Kendall. So I mentioned before, Kendall loves to sew. And about a year ago, she was sewing a doll for her American Girl doll dress with her cousin Alexa. And Alexa's older, so she was really nice. She cut the pattern. She did all the hard work. It took her 1 hour and a half. Kendall was pretty bored while she was waiting because she's 10 years old. And then when the pattern was cut, Kendall got to sew the entire thing, which was the fun part. After Alexa left, Kendall came up to me and was like, "Mom, if I didn't have to cut these patterns, I would sew so much more frequently." And then she looked at me and said, "Why can't the Cricut just do it for me? Why do I have to do this myself?" So little did she know then, and she still doesn't know today because I was sworn to secrecy, that we were coming out with a Cricut Maker machine so that you can now cut fabrics, and that we also knew there had to be a better way than hand cutting all of these sewing patterns. So with the launch of Cricut Maker, we are also launching a library of hundreds of sewing patterns directly in Design Space. All you have to do is find a project you like, click Make It, and start cutting. It is so easy and so fast. And when we launch this library of projects, we're going to have tons of Cricut projects in there, but also have 2 amazing partnerships with experts in the sewing industry to bring you these patterns. We are partnering with Simplicity. You will see hundreds of Simplicity projects in our library of patterns. And it's stuff you've probably seen before in the store. You may have even made yourself. We're going to have purses and bags and headbands and flowers and stuffed animals and doll clothes. All of these and so much more will be in our pattern library. We also are partnering with Riley Blake Designs on the quilt side. We will have many quilts in our library, and these quilts aren't just the quilt patterns, but we'll also have some beautiful fabrics that coordinate with each other that are designed to work with these quilt patterns. Let me show you how easy it is to do this. You go into Cricut Design Space, you scroll through, you find a project that you like. You select the project, and then you see all the details of this project, a beautiful hero shot, a description of the project, all the materials you need to make this project, and detailed sewing instructions that you need to assemble it once you've cut it. You click Make It, and you get to the mats, and everything is already laid out for you. We have done all the hard work of figuring out which of the pieces need to be in which of the fabrics. How do we turn those pieces so we optimize the fabric, you use as little as possible, and how everything is turned so it works with the grain of the fabric. So easy, you start cutting and you're done. So back to the pattern I hand cut. The doll on the left is the one I hand cut, and again, it took me 1 hour and 17 minutes. I wanted to try to do this with the Cricut Maker machine last week. Here's what we got. To cut it on Cricut Maker, it took 15 minutes to cut. And it's not just cut this pattern, but also mark all of the pieces, so you know how it all fits together. And the best part about it is these cuts are so accurate that you know when you go to put it together, it's going to fit together because everything's been done the right way. So I've been so excited to share with you. As Ashish said, we've had to wait 1,170-something days to start talking about this. But hopefully you're really excited about the new features coming, and Chuck Cyber is going to come up here and tell you even more about the Cricut Maker.
Thanks, Kim. Wow. It's great to see you all. I'm totally nervous right now. So Kim's a really hard act to follow because she just told you all how Cricut Maker completely revolutionizes sewing crafts. I mean, that's incredible. That's unbelievable. So do you think we should stop there? No, are you sure? No, of course not. You want more, right? You want to do more stuff. You want to try more materials. You want to explore. You want to add new dimensions to your crafting. So let's talk a little bit about that. Many of you come to us all the time. We see it on Facebook. Ashish tells me about it in the middle of the night. About how you want to add more dimension and depth to your projects. And one of the best ways to do it is to cut thicker materials. So thicker materials work with all the projects you do right now, you know, things like signage and cards and home decor, because it really allows those projects to pop, right? When you're able to add that extra depth. But they also enable new kinds of projects, things that we haven't really tried before, like light woodworking, puzzles, models, leather jewelry, things like that. So we started thinking about this problem and listing off the materials that we thought we would need to support these kind of crafts. So we were thinking about heavy chipboard and mat board, balsa wood, heavy leather, even basswood. Now these are some pretty tough materials. How do you guys cut these kinds of materials right now? X-Actos and saws, yes, saws. It's a bunch of specialty materials like big utility knives probably, right? Some of you might even get into power tools. Like, has anyone tried a Dremel before? Yeah. So these materials are hard to work with, and all these tools, they work, but you've got to learn how to use them. It's really hard to do them precisely and consistently. And of course, there's a safety factor too, right? I mean, they're pretty dangerous. So I was going to tell you a little bit about an experience I had, a making experience. I was going to talk about making my son. I was going to. So this is my boy, and his making material of choice is Lego. But he had a special request for me last fall. He wanted me to make a special Halloween costume. He wanted to be a Pokemon. Everybody know what Pokemon is? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty popular. Of course, I didn't know a whole lot about it at the time, and I'm like, sure, no problem. I'll help you make a Pokemon costume. I mean, how hard could it be, right? So I said, well, which Pokemon do you want of me? And he showed me this. And you know, at this point, I'm like totally regretting saying yes, right? And I was like, well, you know, you want that like on a T-shirt or something? Because we've got this really cool print then cut feature. I don't know if I've told you about it, but get this printable iron-on material. It'd be totally awesome. No. He wanted to be this character. And for those of you who can't see it, it's a large orange dinosaur / dragon thing. Okay. Charizard, yes. Way to go. It's Charizard. So, all right. I was like, okay, we'll figure this out. We started putting together an action plan. We started collecting some materials. We were going to use some structural materials like cardboard and mat board, and we were also going to use some nylon webbing, and then, of course, foam, quite a bit of foam. And we started sketching this thing out, and then I started going through my tools, you know, X-Acto knives, saws, various types of tools. And we started working on this thing. And how many of you have been in this sort of situation? I mean, this was, yeah. My entire garage was full of crap. And we're in there, and I've got like sharp tools everywhere, and my son's sitting over me, and he's like, ooh, that's cool. What are you doing now? And is that sharp? Can I use that? And when are you going to be done anyway? And shouldn't your machine be doing this work? So we're in here, and I'm pulling out the knives. And I'm starting to cut. Here I'm making some patterns, and it just reminded me like what a royal pain in the butt using X-Acto knives is. I mean, it sucks. So these blades, they need to be really sharp in order to work when you're trying to cut a tough material. And you got to change the blades all the time, right? Because they're constantly getting dull. And you've got to apply a ton of pressure to the tool in order to get it through. And you can't just cut it once, you got to do multiple passes, right? And each pass has to be in the right place, otherwise it goes off track and then you're screwed and you're wasting material. And even if you can do all these things, when you get to details, really small details, you don't have a ruler or a guide for small details, and you're in there, trying to cut these really accurate cuts. It's really, really hard. And it's really hard to do all of this stuff safely, too. So that's the challenge that we faced when we were trying to figure out how to cut these kinds of materials with our machine. And it took a few years, a lot of experimentation, but we came up with an answer, and it's called the knife blade. This blade is our biggest, baddest, toughest blade ever. It's totally awesome. Just like the rotary blade, it has all these same degrees of control. We can move it up and down, left and right, and then it's got that big gear on the top, which tells you that we actively control the orientation of that blade at all times. That means that no matter where it's cutting, it's going to stay right on the path. It's not going to wander off course. So control is incredibly important in a blade like this, but you need more than that. You also need power. So this machine is 10 times more powerful than the Cricut Explore line. So we're applying 4 kilograms of force. And you need that power in order to cut these thicker materials, right? You need a lot of power. I mean, a lot of you have experimented with these kind of materials in the past. You know what I'm talking about. And then you need a little intelligence, too. So if you're cutting a thick piece of material that takes multiple passes, you know that to get the best cut, you can't start with heavy pressure right away, right? You need to start with a lighter scoring pass, yeah? And then when you get into the middle of the material, you got to apply a little more force, maybe more in successive passes. And then when you get to the end, maybe you lighten it up a bit because you're trying to get that last clean cut to sort of before you separate out the materials. Well, what we've built is a system where for every material that Cricut Maker cuts, we optimize the pressure for each pass. So we start light, we get heavier, and then we lighten up if we need to. What that means is you're going to get the cleanest cut possible in these materials. And there's a side benefit too. By doing this and being as careful as we can with it, we're able to optimize the life of the blade too. So you're not changing out those blades all the time like you do with an X-Acto blade. That's pretty awesome. So with the knife blade, we're able to do things like this. Things like this. Help. Oh! You know, I'd been building up to that slide for so long. Oh, pretend that didn't happen. Okay. You can cut materials like this because the knife blade can cut materials up to 2.4 millimeters thick. That's 3/32 of an inch. That's some serious balsa wood if you've gone and looked for it. And these kinds of projects are just the beginning. I mean, we're really looking at all of you to help us figure out what every application the knife blade is tailor-made for. So, okay, back to the So, we didn't have the knife blade when I was making this costume. I sure wish we had had it, though, because it was a royal pain in the neck. But, you know, next time, maybe Pokemon, if you're out there,